morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, obviously get those questions in. We're also 80 days away from kickoff in Columbus. Got some news on that here in just a moment. So be sure to tell us your favorite number 80. There's lots of good ones to choose from this morning. We were talking about that earlier. Also, today we're going to have Dr. Brett Wilkinson joining us, talking about the Directors Cup updates and all that good stuff. And then, of course, we'll have it's Hump Day with Heels. So we'll have the O-line doctor himself, Tony Heels, joining us. So stick around.
That's a good one, Blake. I like that. The O-line doctor. Let's see if Tony keeps that.
The O-line doctor.
That should be
he always gives me title, so I'm giving him a
second
title.
Instagram handle.
He deserves that. Hey, the announcement yesterday, by the way, of ESPN that Ohio State, Texas would be Lee Corso's final show on ESPN Game Day. The venerable host and character surrounding college football, only fitting that it'll be live from Columbus on August 30th. That is now 80 days away, by the way. If you're wondering, Jerry Hamilton came up with Bo Scaife for number 80. But this is very cool. Corso retiring, obviously, after this game. Wanted one final hurrah. Texas getting that. This is one of the things that is good. I think somebody's show is on in the background, Blake. Maybe getting feedback. Okay. Long story short, this shows one of the things I do like about ESPN. Whereas Fox will never take Big Noon anywhere other than where their game is that day, ESPN will go where the biggest game is. And I think that's one of the things that sets Game Day apart, frankly. So hats off to them for doing that.
Well, yes, and I will add, we talked about this before. I didn't see any way ESPN was going to pass up Arch Manning's first start as the starting quarterback at Ohio State.
Hey, ESPN wouldn't. That's my point. ESPN wouldn't have, but Fox would have.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so what'll be interesting is in the chat, who do you think the guest picker for this game will be? Will it be an Ohio State person? Will it be Peyton or Eli Manning? How far will ESPN go with this on this first college game day and Lee Corso's last show? Congrats to Lee Corso. I mean, he's been a fixture of college football for a long time. He's actually, honestly, he's the reason I tuned in to college game day for a long time, is just because he entertained me. Same reasons as much as I respected Steve Spurrier as a coach, why I always looked up what he had to say at press conference. He entertained me. Those guys, Mike Leach, the same. Those guys have been great for college football outside of who they were as coaches, especially a Spurrier, who's a national championship level coach.
Hey, Jerry, you just admit it. Of all the people on that game day program, he's the one that would be eating mayo with corn dogs.
100%.
That's the reality. All right, we got some other things we want to get to. We want to talk about our friend Jack Lala here in a second. We also have Dr. Brett Wilkinson coming on, talk Director Cup updates, Tony Hills. We also had a commitment yesterday for the University of Texas. Jerry's got a new recruit to look into. But first, we're going to say thank you to to Adam Lowy, the lawyer there in Austin of Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, including 18-wheeler to an ATV, and think you might be due compensation, call Adam and speak with his folks. He will give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you or yours might be due compensation. Again, that is loweylawfirm.com. Adam sponsors Wednesday morning's Coffee and Football, as well as State of the Program. Adam, thank you so much for sponsoring our work here on Texas football. Blake, I think we need to do this next, if you don't mind. I mentioned it late yesterday in the show that a man that I'd come to know through these online forums, et cetera, and this show in particular, Jack Lala, passed away. He was a English teacher in Poland. He is a Longhorn through and through. grew up in Austin, etc. I actually met him. Me and my wife had lunch with him over at Martin's hamburger place, and he has done a lot of good in the world. He paid it forward. He had a foundation in Poland to pay for kids to learn English and not have to pay. He sponsored kids from Ukraine to come to Poland at time to learn English during all of that mess. Just an all-around good guy. He wasn't just a Longhorn fan. I was speaking or texting with one of our fellow community members, Bobby Petronic, yesterday. And Bobby Petronic said, "Hey, what are you going to do, Bobby? I know you're going to do something." And we started thinking about it, and there wasn't really anything that we could contribute to Jack personally or how he's spending his life. But this is it. Bobby Petronic put it out there. What if we made a donation in Super Chat to the Texas One Fund in his name? It's my understanding he didn't have family to send flowers to. That's very true. And so if you would make that, and On Texas Football will match y'all's donation, and we'll put it in Jack's name to the Texas One Fund. So do that, and we'll get it going today. Anything that comes in via Super Chat today will be matched by On Texas Football, and we'll give a donation thereby to the friends over at Texas One Fund in Jack's honor. So thank you for all of you that do participate. Thank you for all of you that are just here in the morning as well. Don't feel compelled to do that, but we wanted to do something fun for him that he thought he would think was kind of cool, and I think he would. So thank you very much. A lot of people. Next subject. I want to go on the number 80, Jerry. People are mentioning not only Boscape, but Tim Crowder, national champion Tim Crowder, Lavelle Pinkney, Bill Boy Bryant back in the day in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe, or more late 80s or early 80s. A lot of 80s in the time frame for the Longhorn fans to go with as well. So let's talk a little. What's next? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I was going to say on the 80s, I mean, Tim Crowder, tremendous player. Boscape, pre-injury, was a special guy. Was Lavelle Pinkney the most talented 80? Physically gifted 80? I mean, that guy was extremely gifted. It's interesting. There's been some really good number 80s at Texas. So it'd be interesting to see who the chat has to say. But a lot of people, if they didn't follow recruiting back then and they only follow the team, they probably never saw the Boscape before he had the injuries. He was pretty special.
Jared, the Longhorns got a commitment yesterday as well. Number 13. Tell us about Mikey Bukakis.
Punter from Prosper, one of the top 2 or 3 punters in the country, ranked, obviously. When Clemson offered him, there was a thought that Clemson could end up being the team to beat if he took a visit out there, because the offer resonated with him. We talked about that here on OnTexasFootball.com, but he shut it down yesterday after his weekend OV to Texas and committed to the Longhorns. So Texas got 3 specialists in this class, a big specialist class, obviously, with Trot O'Neill, the long snapper who we've had on here before, Jake Collette, the kicker out of Ringgold, Georgia, and now Mikey Bukakis out of Prosper, second player from Prosper to commit to Texas in recent years, Jake Majors being the other, and Prosper High offensive lineman Zayden Crimpin is officially visiting Texas this weekend, one of 3 offensive linemen now visiting. Samuel Roseboro moved up his official visit date from the 20th to the 13th this weekend. So Texas will have Felix Ojo, Crimpin, and Roseboro on campus. The reason was I think Roseboro and Ohio State went different ways, whether that was Roseboro. I think Roseboro is just kind of moving up his timeline, essentially, what's going on. He visited A&M last weekend. For those that don't know, his mom lives in Austin now. So we'll see. We'll see which way that goes. If y'all have offensive line questions, yes, Alex Okafor also wore 80. If y'all have questions about recruiting stuff, just throw them in there and we'll get them answered. But a lot going on. Paris Melvin, which we'll come back and talk about him, Blake. I think we're about to have a guest. We won't have time to play his hot.
Okay.
Paris Melvin out of Cy Springs was on campus yesterday. Defensive back prospect. Texas offered him May 23rd. He was on campus yesterday. We can go ahead and play his huddle. I think we have time, Blake. Even if we get a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And he's 6 foot, about 175, 180. He's being recruited as a defensive back by Texas. And that makes some sense to me. Justice Fitzpatrick sticking with Georgia, as we talked about. I posted hey, he was still scheduled to visit the Texas. We'll see if that visit happens. He shut all his visits down. He's not going to Ohio State this weekend. But Paris Melvin's a guy that Mark Orfe liked this spring when he was out and about at obviously the Cy Springs area in Cypress, Texas. Rushed for over 1,000 yards at running back, at 350 receiving, had an interception, a good return guy. Played more offense and defense as a junior in high school, and probably will as a senior too, because they have to win games or you get fired in Texas high school football. So this guy's got to score touchdowns for you. But he is a defensive back, recruit by Texas. And the question now becomes, he told me last night that he's planning to officially visit Texas, but when will that be? He currently has Houston this weekend, Ole Miss midweek, and Texas A&M on the 20th. He was just at A&M over the weekend as well for a camp unofficial visit, or late last week, one of the two. So will Texas get him in on this weekend, or will they get him in on the 20th is the question. So we'll see which way that goes. But I think, look, this is a guy that Texas just really liked in the spring when they were there. So they're trying to bring him in on the 20th, which means your defensive back recruits still out there are Samari Matthews at corner from Huff High, who's coming in this week. Hey, man, don't let Sark see that. Jeez, in the red zone. All right, so you have Samari Matthews, the corner from Huff High, who's coming in this weekend, which I think that's Texas, Miami, South Carolina. He was at Florida State last weekend. Then you have Devon Benjamin, the do-it-all DB who could play anywhere. He was in last weekend for an official visit. He's got Oregon and Washington to go. He's already been to Michigan. We'll see if somebody outside of Texas or Oregon positions himself to win that. Washington's been sneaky in this class, but I'm not sure I see Devon Benjamin there. And they're not bringing in Travis Stevenson, the kid from Georgia. I think he's probably going to flip from Georgia Tech to Georgia or stick with Georgia Tech at the end of the day. So I think that's really coming down to that at defensive back. And before somebody asks on Jermaine Bishop, I list him as half a corner, half a wide receiver right now. I think that'll play out in time. I don't really think he's factoring in necessarily to either one of those positions, other than the guy's a tremendous football player. And they'll figure it out, or through his senior year, he decides where he really wants to play. Because I think if he came to Texas and said, I want to play corner, he'd play corner. If he says he wants to play wide receiver, he'll play wide receiver. Jermaine Bishop I'm talking about.
Jerry, does he have any track times? I don't know. If
he ran on the relays this year, and they went to state. He ran mostly relays. He did not run. There is not 100-meter time for him this year that I found.
Okay.
So I think he was more of a relays guy. Actually, he ran 10.85. I'm wrong. He didn't run a lot of 100 meters. He ran more on the relays for us, but he ran 10.85 FAT.
Gotcha. All right, we'll have more on this recruitment a little bit. Dr. Brett Wilkinson going to join us here in a second as well for Directors Cup update. Blake, we mentioned Mikey Bukowskis. I'm trying to say that name correctly. A lot of guys there. There's also quite a few guys visiting Texas this weekend. Right now, I think, what is it now, 14 or 15, Jerry, with the addition of Sam Roseborough, the offensive lineman out of Florida?
Yeah, I think we're at 15 right now. And we'll see. That could move back to 14 because I'm not sure. I'm not so sure Jabari Mack's going to come in, guys. I'm not so sure on that one. But you have Jalen Lott, Hezzy Kent, Felix Ojo, Zayden Crimpin, now Samuel Roseborough, Damari Simeon, Vodney Cleveland, Bryce Perry Wright, Dre Quinn. Jake Krull, Xavier Griffin, Braden Rouse, Jaheim Riley, Samari Matthews. So that is your group coming in. I think Dr. Brett's here. So we're going to talk about this here later in the show, but one added, and I think one will be subtracted.
All right. Well, let's bring him on in this morning. Dr. Brett Wilkinson, how's it going this morning?
Oh, you're muted somehow, Dr. Wilkinson.
You got me now?
Yeah, we got you now. Good stuff. Hey, Brett, thanks for joining us this morning. You've been keeping track of where the Longhorns stand. We got a lot of questions on this Monday after the Longhorns and over the weekend after the Longhorns took home the softball championship over Texas Tech. What does that do? Give people a feel for what that does and what it means for Texas's chances to win the fourth out of the last 5 Directors Cups.
Yeah, and like I've been mentioning, it's been a close race between Texas and USC coming down the stretch here. So any points that we can gain here or there are massive. So softball winning the championship, that added another 10 points to our total, and it just gives that much more leeway. So I'd broken down these scenarios with a Texas softball win and a Texas softball loss. Had they lost to Texas Tech, they had about a 66% chance of winning the Directors Cup. Winning the softball championship boosts that percentage to about 90%.
You look at that, and all of this now hinges, according to your graph here that you created, based on the men's and women's track and field national championships, since Texas and USC are, and I think North Carolina as well, are all out of the college baseball World Series. So really, the only one they're all participating in that is a possible winner is track and field, and I think that gets started today, correct? What does Texas need to do here to win? I mean, if you don't mind describing.
Yeah, and I know there's 16 possible outcomes here, but the big takeaway is, if Texas handles business, if Texas finishes as they're currently ranked, which is number 11 and number 13, there's actually no way for USC to beat them. They even have a little bit of leeway to underperform. And as I look at these scenarios, you've got to ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario for Texas or the best case for USC? USC's men's track is far and away ranked higher than any of the other track teams. I think they're going to win the men's national championship in track and field. On the other hand, the women are ranked 3rd. They're actually neck and neck with Texas A&M for 2nd place. But on the women's side, Georgia's women are far and away the best track team this year. So I really think Georgia's women's track will win the championship. But let's say USC were to sweep both track and field national championships, that would boost their score to 1268. Well, Texas beats them by about 8 points if they finish as ranked. So even in the best case scenario for USC, Texas has a pathway to win if they handle their business.
Basically, what you're saying is no pressure on Texas track and field this weekend.
No pressure. You know what? I don't think those athletes are following the Directors Cup all that closely. So I don't think we're adding any pressure. But you know what? If you're not going out and running your fastest and jumping your highest at the track and field national championship, regardless, I don't know what you're doing. So I know those guys and gals are going to go out and try to put on their best performance no matter what.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. I will say this: Texas lost one Directors Cup a couple years back from a flock of geese, I think, or a flock of birds that ran into their rowing team and caused a 3rd or 4th place finish instead of a 1st place finish. If I'm not mistaken, that happened. So let's not drop a baton in a relay race here to lose the Directors Cup this week, right?
Yeah, track and field, as you mentioned, it can swing. The teams that are kind of in the middle rankings don't score a whole lot of points. In the track and field scores, you might score 20 to 30 points to be in the teens top 10. And that's one event. Your favorite in a relay, like you mentioned, and you drop a baton, that's 10 points off your score. And you could fall quite a bit in the standings just from one event going south on you. So it is a an event with a lot of variance, a lot of challenge, but Texas is in a good position, and I think we might be getting our mayonnaise and corn dogs ready
Yes.
to go.
Yeah, I'm always up for that, Brett. Hey, I got a question. I've never asked you this, but I don't know why I just thought about this. When the college football playoff goes to 16, how many are each of those wins worth for a team in the college football playoff?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that I have. I actually don't think that the Directors Cup will change their scoring. The way they do the scoring right now is based on the top 25 in the coaches poll at the end of the year. And then if you win a bowl game and you're outside of the top 25, you get points. If you lose a bowl game, you get points. But I imagine they're not just going to say 16 football teams get points. I think they're probably going to keep it the same way. That's a guess. I have no way to know that for sure. We might see when we get there. But even with the expanded playoff this year, they didn't change the scoring system.
Brett, if you see on the screen there, his Twitter handle is direct_cup dates. This is a newfangled thing that you kind of started. It had been around tracking this. It had been around for 20 plus years, and maybe even 25, 30 years, the actual Directors Cup. Brett, we've asked you this before, but remind folks how you even got into this. And you are a Texas grad, so you're also a actual medical doctor. You are there in New Orleans as well. But what tell people how you got into this and why you track this so closely.
Yeah, well, probably like you guys and those listening, grew up playing sports, following sports, and just became a huge Texas Longhorn fan. Very fortunate that one of my best friends growing up had parents that went to UT, and when you're 8, 9, 10, when Ricky Williams is doing his thing, it's kind of natural to latch onto that. So I was just a huge sports fan, a huge Texas Longhorn fan. Loved my time on campus. We were at sporting events left and right when I was in school. I studied for my medical board exams at a baseball game one time. So, you find ways to make it work, right?
Hey, so I'm going to put you on an assignment for your third gig. How about this? You're going to be the Arch Manning reporter out of New Orleans. What is how much Arch Manning talk is there in New Orleans these days? Because we're 80 days away from it getting real with the Arch Manning era at Texas.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really curious to see, especially over these next 2 years, what the vibe is like. I definitely see some, number 16 Newman jerseys. I see the number 16 Texas jersey around town. So this is an LSU stronghold, certainly. But I think it's also going to be a bit of an Arch Manning pocket of fandom. So it might open up some of the, non-LSU diehards to a little bit of Texas fandom. And a funny story, the gym that my wife goes to, that week that y'all had been talking about Arch being in town, bringing some players with him, the coach was like, yeah, these guys were in here, and we didn't realize who it was at the time, but it was actually Arch Manning. And a couple of the other teammates were in the same gym that my wife works out at. So, they're around, and people are talking about Arch Manning for sure.
It'll be really interesting when LSU's probably on the schedule next year and Arch Manning plays against the Tigers. That's going to be interesting, especially if that game's in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, that'll be a wild scene, no doubt.
All right, you guys can follow Dr. Wilkinson's updates more, especially as it comes in this weekend. Brett, when do you think the final die will be cast, for lack of a better term, in this year's Directors Cup?
As close as it is between Texas and USC, I think it'll be Saturday night before we can finally, officially clinch anything here. The caveat would be, and the thing to watch in the men's, do Texas men overperform, and does USC, happen to lose that? That would be a big blow for USC if their men do not win the national championship. I think that's unlikely. So, I'll be posting updates throughout this week, kind of keeping an eye on how things are shaping up in track and field. I think Friday USC will handle business. Hopefully Texas does as well. And, I'll provide the new scenarios after Friday night goes final. And I think it'll be Saturday night, once the women's track and field goes final, that we'll have an official clinch one way or the other. We'll know for certain by Saturday night.
All right, Brett. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a good day, bud. I hope you and yours are having a good summer, and we'll look forward to probably hearing from you on Saturday at some point, hopefully, in a good way.
Hopefully good news on Saturday. So thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, hook 'em, dude.
Thanks,
Take care of
Have a
yourself.
good one.
Yeah, take care. Dr. Brett Wilkinson, always a good guest for us here at On Texas Football. All right, Blake, if you don't mind, I need to say thank you to one of our sponsors this week. That is Omaha Steaks. When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. Dads want steak. A recent survey shows 75% of Americans agree there's no better way to spend Father's Day than grilling with the family. From USDA certified tender steaks to burgers and more, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience, guaranteed to secure your spot as Dad's favorite. I've been doing this for years now. Shop omahasteaks.com and give Dad the legendary Heartland quality he deserves. Plus, our listeners here at On Texas Football get an extra $35 off with promo code ONTexas at checkout. That's On Texas, promo code ONTexas at checkout. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with more than 100 years of experience in the meat industry. They also carry mouth-watering brisket burgers. That was just absolutely delicious this weekend. Pork, seafood, dessert, and other easy-to-prepare comfort food. This Father's Day, give Dad the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for guaranteed perfect gifts that deliver legendary quality. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code ONTexas at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, and an extra $35 off with promo code ONTexas at checkout. See site for more details.
All right, thank you for that, Bobby. And the super chat's obviously rolling in this morning, and I wanted to read a couple of them to start with. This one for you, Bobby, from Alex Foster. He said this is for Jack and his family, but on a side note, if Bobby doesn't eat a corn dog with mayonnaise, why not at least eat a corn dog with Bijan mustardson? Come on, Bobby. Be a team
I can
player.
do that. I did have a little bite of a corn dog with mustard, but I didn't have the Bijan mustard. So I'll definitely, when I do eat a corn dog, I'm more than happy to eat it with mustard, but it ain't happening without Texas football has to win a national championship for me to do that.
And I was going to go through a few more of these right now, fellas. Bobby Betronic, thank you for yours. Says, in memory of Jack, a life well lived. Hook 'em. Good talk, Russ. We thank you for yours as well. Zane Petty also says, for Jack, your wife, Jenny. Bobby says, Jack, you will be missed. Kyle says, for Jack, hook 'em. And then Phil says, for Jack and OTF, God gives all blessings. Texas 84 for Jack. I mean, it's just amazing support from this community. Longhorn Frenzy 1 for Texas One Fun in memory of one of our fellow OGs. Hook 'em. Cisco Diaz says, for Jack, B2 and ATX. Thank you for sharing your time with us, Jack. John Robinson, also in memory of Jack. Brian Berg as well. Rest easy, Jack. And then John, we appreciate your super chat, along with Texas Boy. Says, hook 'em, Jack. Lindy B, hook 'em, Jack. And then we got one from MP Houston, says, great guys, great job with Coach White yesterday. I do hate that I missed that, by the way. Am I the only one still going back watching highlights of the Tech, OU, and Clemson games? What a run.
What a run.
I watched a little bit of the of the Clemson series yesterday, to be honest. I wanted to see, I was unable to watch every single inning of that series. And so I just want to go back and get a feel for it. Getting out of, I asked Coach White this, what was the turning point where you really knew that you were getting ready to win or you had something really special? I was somewhat surprised that he didn't point to the Clemson game in extra innings where Clemson had runners on second and third and nobody out. And if they score, they just walk it off. I think that was game 2. I'm somewhat surprised he didn't mention that because it just seems like a seminal moment for their season, right? I mean, that you can't get your back up against the wall any more than that, right? You really can't. They never had their back up against the wall worse than that. the rest or the entire season, even against Texas Tech. So or OU in this College World Series. So I did go back and watch it a little bit, and really happy for Coach White and his team. I wonder how Kansas City is doing today. He's out there. He's. I wonder if he's got a fake national championship ring. You know, they give you one of those fake ones to run around with. He's probably got to be wearing that around, showing some recruits maybe. But we'll see.
Hey, by the way, if there's anybody from Bob's Steak and Chop House that works or owns it that listens to us by chance, y'all need to get with Coach White. That's his favorite place he goes to eat. Y'all need to get with Coach White and do something with him.
For sure.
And send a picture to the show.
Some more super chats this morning. Tanner Grip says RIP Jack. Lee Barton as well. RIP Jack. Gabriel blew his horn. God bless. Cole also says hook 'em Jack. And then we have one here from Dwayne, a big one from Dwayne. Thank you. He says, I wish I could have given in Poland money. We'll miss those every morning. Rest in peace, Jack. Hook 'em. Bobby Gaithright says in honor of Jack. And then I think this is the last one. Yep. Jason Watt says, RIP Jack. Sounds like you are a bright spot in this world. And thanks, OTF, for doing something special and beneficial in Jack's name.
We will be donating, matching those donations to the Texas One Fund in honor of an original OG. Actually, I mean he was an OG. I think he may have been on one of our very first broadcasts, Blake and Jerry. So thank you all for participating. He's like I said, I think he was just a nice dude, man. Nice dude, all the way around.
Well, don't forget we have Tony Hill joining us here, in about 10 minutes. But in the meantime, we can take some questions here.
We got some good questions.
We are loaded up on questions today. Antoine says, Jerry, have you seen Brian Arakpo Jr.? And then, of course, Joseph Adai has the son, class of 28, wide receiver at Shadow Creek.
I put out the tweet of Brian Arakpo and his son. They just happened to walk into Texas camp last Thursday, I guess that was. And I seen him play in person? I have not. He's so young. He's a 28. But he's a talented kid. Joseph Adai's son is getting a lot of run. He is very talented. And we'll be, and I'll see him this year. Obviously, Chris Stewart goes to Shadow Creek, and I'll be more than likely going to a Shadow Creek game or two in a practice when they get going in August. So I'll see more of Adai there. But these guys are so young that it's kind of this year when they kind of have a chance to burst onto the stage a little bit on Friday nights more so. So I'm excited to see how they progress. With Adai, he's obviously already a playmaker, really good basketball player. I have seen him in AAU basketball, by the way. I saw him a few weekends ago. They were playing a tournament over here in Houston. He was playing, I believe he was with JL3 younger team, the John Lucas III younger team. He's a talented athlete for sure. I can't wait to see how big Arakpo Jr. gets as he grows, as he matures. That's going to be interesting to watch. Both talented kids. Cisco, go ahead. I was just starting a question. Go ahead, Blake.
All right, David wants to know, Jerry, who will be Texas' 2 running back takes? Only Edwards and Crowell are visiting unless Cooper is coming in later, it seems.
That's a good question, and it's not the question that can be answered right now. Carson Baker is not making an official visit. Him and I exchanged messages yesterday. So, I think Texas is in a pretty good spot for KJ Edwards right now. He's coming in on the 20th. He was at LSU last weekend. He's made a couple of visits. So we'll see where that goes. But I feel like Texas is in a pretty good spot for him headed into the June 20th official visit. And then on Xavier Crowell, look, he's deciding June 26th. And this is kind of I come out on this the same as I have been. It's going to come down to, can Alabama win out to keep him in state? If they do, that's obvious where he's going. If not, I think he'll be Texas. And now Georgia, he visited Georgia. He's got Auburn this weekend. But I think if he stays in state, it'll be Alabama. If he goes out of state, I think it would be Texas over Georgia. But I think right now, headed into June OVs, I think Alabama was considered the favorite. I think Robert Gillespie's had one job in this cycle, and that's ensure Xavier Crowell stays in the state. Now, will say this: he's been on campus 4 times now at Texas. This is not like he's been twice. He's been here a lot. And I do think Texas is very much in it. But Texas has the task of beating Alabama for a kid from Jackson, Alabama.
And then the question that you were starring just a second ago from Cisco Diaz. Jerry, can you tell us about Grace Printer?
Basketball commitment for Texas. She's a shooter, international player. She shoots the ball pretty well. We'll see. I think she has a chance to be a role player, for Texas. Add some perimeter shooting to her. She's not on the level of an Aaliyah Crump that's in this class with her. She's not on that level, but she is a catch and shoot player, and Texas needs a couple of those off the bench as role players.
Some more questions this morning. Let's take this one from Jesse. He says, what do you think the likelihood is we finish top 3 in recruiting?
It'll come down to 2 things: how many 5 stars Texas has in the class, and where do all the guys Texas sign end up being ranked come January in the final prospect rankings for the class, because that really does shape the class rankings. Do I think Texas will be a top 5 class again? I do. I think if they hit 4 or 5 stars, they'll end up with a top 3 class. That's where I come out on it.
There you go.
And I think they have a shot at it for sure.
Splendid Daddy with the super chat says Texas family, hook 'em and RIP. Thank you for that super chat. We appreciate it. And let's do a couple more recruiting ones real quick, and then we'll jump over to some team ones, of course, and then have Tony Heels in there as well. But Glenn Keller says, are all of these specialists they've taken recently on scholarship? I'd assume so, but just want to verify. Also, besides St. Louis, it seems like our high school specialists have busted out. Why aren't we using the portal only here?
Bobby, you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I think that, look, I would not say that they've all busted out. I think they have had issues. Will Stone is not a bust, right? You took him, and he's carried your kickoff duties for 4 straight. This will be his 4th year. So Lance St. Louis is not a bust. I mean, he started for you for 4 years. Punter has not necessarily been a bust either. I mean, Michael Kern started. He wasn't perfect. They probably should have taken a portal guy last year, to your point. But I think that, look, there are multiple ways to skin a cat. Is what my dad would probably say. There's no reason not to try both. And if you think that Bukauskas is a special punter, and you think Jake Collette is a kicker that can start for you for 3 years, then you do it. I mean, you still have to develop from within. I really believe that. Now, it would be nice to be able to say you're going to be able to go get somebody from the portal. But remember, with the house settlement, the portal changes things. I mean, it's a little different now.
That's how I was getting at. Are we at 105, and it doesn't really affect your true 85?
No, it's 85. So we are at 105, but 85 scholarships is what Texas is playing with. They're not over-signing for scholarships. So that's reality. I don't know the answer here, guys. I think that I could see both ends of this, but I would add, it's not – if everybody – like Jack Bowmeister is a good example. You may not be able to get him next year or someone like him if he's coming from a Power 4 conference, because they're going to have just as much money in many ways as Texas will for punters in 2026. Now, Texas State is different because they're not going to pay their kickers like Mason Shipley the way Texas could with its bonus pool or with its NIL pool. So you have to – I think that they're going a little bit in this direction to make sure they cover their you-know-whats. And that's part of it.
So, Bobby, hold on. I have a follow-up. So we think Texas is going to stay at 80, only have 85 scholarships?
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's the bottom line. They're only scholarship at 85. Stark reiterated that last week or 2 weeks ago in Destin. Now they can have 105 players on campus, but only 85 scholarships.
All right, we have a super chat here from Brandon Huey. Thank you, Brandon. He says, "Gentlemen's Jack will be had in honor of Jack. Fly high and hook 'em." Thank you for that, Brandon Huey. And then F for Fake says, "Jerry, what are your thoughts on Jermichael Finley's son? I just have the feeling we're going to experience another Decorian Moore moment with him."
Well, I think early on in his recruitment, I think there was an idea of getting away from home, doing your own thing. Doing your own thing was kind of inviting. But as these recruitments move along, that are you really going to go that far from home factors in. And I think Texas is in a pretty good spot. Now he was at A&M last week, and he's at Notre Dame this weekend in Texas on the 20th. But I think Texas is in a pretty good spot. And for anybody wondering, I do think Jermichael would like his son to be at Texas.
And then the question everyone's wanting to know, how many highs are still on the board, Jerry?
More than one, less than four.
Well, there you go. All right. It looks like our special guest is here. Tony Hills, the man of the hour. How's it going this morning?
Hey, man, excellent, wonderfully well, phenomenally phenomenal. Too blessed to be stressed. And Blake, if I was, I promise you wouldn't know about it, brother. I promise you that. What's happening, man? We here.
I Tony, this last week feels like a little reminds me of a Mac Brown recruiting year at this point, dude. The Longhorns have gotten 5 commitments in the last 72 hours. Give us your best Mac Brown recruiting story.
Oh, yeah.
Prior to your injury, because I know he did some special things post your injury we talked about, but give us your best Mac Brown story prior to your injury.
Best Mac Brown story prior to my Mac, I'll tell you this. This is Mac. Mac has this uncanny ability to be able to relate. He's very relatable, right? And so I remember when he came to my apartment, he stayed in a small apartment or whatever. The best memory for me was just how comfortable he was in the environment. Bobby, if you understand what A-Leaf Texas is, Jerry, you've been through A-Leaf Texas. If you understand what A-Leaf Texas is about, you would know that we don't see middle-aged white man just walking around the street. You know what I mean? So the fact that he was extremely comfortable in that environment, to me, it wasn't about the things that he said. We all know, Mac is good. He could sell you he could get you to pay for your last name that he got from you. But it was just his ability to be very comfortable in what could seemingly be an uncomfortable situation. So that's the best I got from y'all. For me, it was about feeling and emotion, which is one of the reasons why I went to Texas, just how comfortable he was in my environment and how comfortable he made me feel in the Austin environment.
Hey, so I wasn't even thinking about asking you this, but Bobby made what he asked you made me think this direction. You're part of the 2003 recruiting class at Texas, ranked top 10 in the country. I'm going to read off of a few names, and I want you to tell me, yourself excluded, who was the most talented player in that class? And was there anybody of these big names in that class? Was there anybody in that class that you said, man, that guy was extremely talented, but he didn't make it for whatever reason? So in that class, Texas fans, was Michael Griffin, Tony Hills, Eric Hardiman, Tim Crowder, Terrell Brown, pretty good class already, Robert Killebrew, a lot of national title rings, Scott Derry, Eric Foreman, Brandon Foster, Tyrell Gatewood, Dallas Griffin, Steve Hogan, Eric Jackson, Thomas Marshall, Billy Pittman, Steve Richardson, Limas Swede, and Kyle Thornton. So that class lived up to its top 10 billing. So, Tony, was there, outside of yourself, was there a most talented guy in that where you said that guy's really, really talented? Was there anybody in that class that didn't make it that you said that guy should have made it if it would have gone a different way, whether that was off the field or injury?
Yeah, that one is so easy to pinpoint, man. It would have to be Eric Hardiman.
You said this before. Yeah.
Eric Hardiman. Listen, man, like I get here. You want a story? I give you a story. E man, we call him E man, E Hard man. Like he would do things that would get him, he would do things that would get him in compromised situations, right? He wouldn't always make the best choice. Great hearted dude, but just wouldn't always make the best choices. I will never forget this for as long as I live. Mad Dog used to have something called the Jacob's Ladder. All right. So for everybody that don't know what that is, imagine being on the Stairmaster, but you get to use your hands to grab the wood blocks that move. So it's just a continuous motion. If you don't know what it is, look it up. And so I don't know, man. This had to have been the third or fourth day in a row that this man was on this machine. And finally, man, I had enough. I was like, bro, you on this thing all the time, man. Why don't you just go to class and do what you need to do? He looked at me and started laughing. He was like, bro, this extra cardio. What you mean?
That's a different way to look at it.
It's his mentality. But when I tell you the talent, dude, that guy, had he locked in, he would have been one of the best running backs to ever come out of the University of Texas, without a doubt. You're talking about a dude that was like 6'1", 225 pounds, strong, fast, can catch the ball out of the backfield. There was literally nothing that he couldn't do. He was like your prototypical running back, right? He comparing his body frame, he was a Derrick Henry type body frame. That's what he was, right? But it doesn't always go the way that you plan, man. And I definitely wish him well. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but that list reminded me of that story, so I thought I'd share it.
So when you show up at Texas as a freshman, times were different. Y'all might have known of each other, but y'all didn't know each other the same way now, where guys just turn on a huddle and watch every other guy it's in their recruiting class, go to all these camps together and whatnot, right? You have the All-American games, but so like a Michael Griffin, Tim Crowder, Terrell Brown specifically, when did you know that those guys were really, really good players?
When we put on the pads, honestly, that's the only time you can know. I mean, look, everybody looks good in shorts and good in the drills. You know what I mean? Like everybody looks good when you're not really going hard. You're trying to make sure you protect your guy. You're just trying to get walk-through reps. Everybody looks good. You only know if you're a player when you put the pads on and you're consistent day in and day out. And those guys that you named, right? Like Lyman Swede, NFL, Terrell Brown, NFL, Tim Crowder, NFL. So it just goes to show you, Texas has always been able to grab talent and to develop talent. We've had, obviously we had that lull, but for the most part, we've always been able to do that. But when it comes to players, man, you only know players when you put the pass on, period and point blank.
Tony, going to ask you a little bit different question here. Texas won the softball national championship on
Yes,
Friday.
they did. Shout out to Scott, man. Jesus, one knee is all she needs.
Yeah, one knee.
That's it.
Yeah. Hey, question for you. What's it feel like being an athlete on the University of Texas campus when a sport other than yours wins a national championship? Now, I know y'all won one in football when you were there, but what's it like when another sport? I mean, is it motivating for you guys or for other people on campus? What's that feel like?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, first and foremost, the first thing is elation, right? Because it's a Texas thing. We are Texas, right? And it's not just a slogan, it's a real thing. And so to be able to see, even now with them winning the national championship, that's the reason I'm walking around today with my Texas shirt on, because I'm getting ready to head to the gym and brag. You know what I mean? We have softball too, volleyball too, golf, swimming. I mean, what you want? You know what I mean? So there's an elation and a happiness. But then from a competitive standpoint, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that all of the football athletes are looking at what's happening around Texas. These coming into the SEC, been there less than 4 years, and national championships are being knocked down by other sports. You don't want to be the sport that's not bringing one home. I'm pretty sure that all of those guys feel that way. So it's a combination. It's between the elation of your former compadres, but then also you saying, hey, look, we want some of that. We want to taste that too. We want to taste that glory. We want to taste that greatness as well. So that's how we looked at it.
Hey, Tony, the guys started summer workouts last week.
Yeah.
And I was there last week. It was really hot. So take people through the mindset of the summer workout, because this is really where, like, you know who can play when the pads come on, but you know who's going to be in the trenches with you in summer workouts.
Yeah. It's where listen, this is where real men are made. Yeah, honestly. Listen, Ahmad Hall. Y'all remember Ahmad Hall?
Oh, yeah.
You know what Ahmad Hall's nickname was? The Marine. Want to know why? Because he was a Marine.
Yeah.
I went out to summer workout. We come in, we have different slots. We're stagnant, right? We're like there's different areas. I come in on our time. As a matter of fact, it was me and Tim. As a matter of fact, me and Tim come in. We walking in together. We laughing and like, yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and knock this out, man. We're going to go hang out, have a good time, right? We walk in the locker room and we see the Marine on the floor, breathing heavily. Tim and I looked at each other and this is a family project, so I won't cuss, but we said, oh, bull, caca, right? Because if he's like that,
that's all good.
And this dude is a freaking Marine, we stood no chance. So, like, I want you to see this. Just us looking at somebody that we admired at peak physical fitness, because the Marine never got tired. That's the other part of the story. He never got tired. So when we go out there and we see Mad Dog with them Oakleys on and that whistle in his mouth talking about, all right, now let's get on the line. We're already having to have a mental battle and a mental fight just to say we got to get through this, right? But that was the building block of becoming a national champion, putting yourself and pushing yourself through something that you thought that you would never be able to come out of. But that's the athlete mindset. That's the warrior mindset, right? You put yourself in the fire because you know that although you're being molded, the impurities of weakness are being removed from your body and from your mind. And that's what summer workouts are about. And so for those that make it through, man, I'm telling you, you come out different. You come out never being the same. And that's why when you see, like think about the national championship run, guys. How many fourth quarter wins did we have? That started because of summer workouts. That started because we were picking each other up. That started because we knew we were going to finish the fight. That's what they're going to get out of this. And I know Becton does a wonderful job. I mean, we're seeing it, man. We're seeing it. These guys look great. They look phenomenal. And they're going to keep getting better.
Tony, we talk about it all the time with Texas. These are the dog days of summer. And that's what this kind of began last week when they showed up back on campus. Is summertime, from a weightlifting standpoint, in your opinion, is it more prep for the season, or is it more bulking up time, the first part of the summer, which is what they're going through right now? Like, you know what I'm getting at? Like, there are certain, during the season, it's just maintenance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What phase of weightlifting and workout is it for them right now? Foundational
strength phase. It's the foundational strength phase. This is when you start looking to increase in numbers, right? Because you got to think about it. When you're doing all of the runs and all of those things, that's increasing the VO2 max, and that's the cardiovascular aspect of it. Then you come right in there, and now you're looking to increase in the weight room and to get stronger. So the biggest jumps are made in your summer workouts, right? Because that's where most of the focus. There is a football focus, but the training focus for those summer workouts is pertinent. Like that's where a majority of the focus is going to be, right? Like your classroom studies and stuff like that, but we're not in season yet. Like we don't even, we're not even getting prepared. Like of course the coaches are watching film on Ohio State and things like that, but we don't have a game plan now, right? We're still trying to figure out who the guys are. We think we know, but in summer workouts, here's another thing. This is also where position changes happen. This is also where starter roles start being up for grabs, because you go in with a certain mindset thinking that this particular person is who he is, but then these workouts and then those practices start to reveal something else, and now you have decisions to make. So it's a big jump, and it's a monumental time for a lot of these athletes that want to be the man, that want to be out there, want to get their name called, on Saturday coming out of the locker room.
Hey, Tony, we've been doing a countdown days until the season, and I just realized we should have had you on tomorrow because it's 79 days tomorrow. Today. I know we messed up.
I'll take Tim's day. This is Tim's day. I'll take Tim's day. Tim, I'm on your day, baby. I'm on your day, Tim.
Hey, tell Tim to come on tomorrow or something. Text Tim and Tim to come on tomorrow. But so what I was going to ask you is, any good stories about Tim Crowder or Bo Scaife, two of the number 80s you played with?
Oh man, listen. Let me tell you this. When I moved positions, this is what when I moved from tight end to tackle, I used to have to go up against Tim Crowder. And mind you, Tim has been a defensive end his whole life. I'm moving into positions. Tim kicked my butt the entire spring. And his locker was next to mine. So he would kick my butt and then tell me about it. Right. And so, but the reason why I loved him is because although we did that and we went through that time frame, he would also coach me up about what he's looking at me and where I could get better. Yeah. So in a sense, man, Tim played a major role in my development as an offensive lineman, man. But just a good dude. Funny guy. I don't think people really realize how funny Tim is, man. Tim is hilarious, man. And we hang out all the time. It's my drinking buddy too. Like, right. We had a good time. We experienced college together, man. And so I definitely appreciate Tim. Bo was one of the swaggiest tight ends, the smoothest guys that you'd ever see. Real cool dude. Always wanted to make sure everybody was having a good time. But the thing that I appreciate about Bo, man, was his mentality. Because to be able to have those injuries that he had and to overcome that and to still make it into the NFL and to do the things that he did, it shows you how strong his mentality was. And when it came to being on that field, Bo was about that business. He was about that business, man. He was a very aggressive tight end. Between him and David Thomas, man, guys like that set the standard of what it meant to be a tight end in Texas, man. And so, again, that's one of those guys that helped me in my transition of not just positionally, but understanding what Texas and the pride of Texas is all about, because he had been there the longest, right? So those are my two, reminiscent stories about the 80s at Texas.
Alex Okafor, also Bill Boy Bryant, Lavelle Pinkney, a lot of number 80s through the years. Who's number 80 this year, guys? Y'all have a guess? You don't
I have no clue.
What's that?
I'm looking it up.
You're looking. Why, Blake? You're supposed to be a Texas Longhorn. Like,
there's no way I can remember every number on the roster. I'm sorry.
And sometimes there's two 80s.
Well, and I'll say this too, Bobby. We got transport portal, man. So the 80 that's here now might not be the 80 that's here tomorrow. Like, the hell,
Tony. Tell him.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and there is no 80 this year.
I didn't think there was. It maybe is it going to be Emmett Mosley?
There's no 80.
Could be. He was 18 though last year.
Yeah.
So.
Real quick. Hold on, real quick, Bobby. I got a question for you, and I meant to, and I said when I got on here I was going to ask you because you've been able to span across the time. You're like the oracle of Texas and all things NCAA, man. So I want to get your thoughts just real quick on the House versus the NCAA settlement, where now colleges are able to pay the players directly. What is your thoughts on that?
I think long story short, Tony, I think it's a step down the line, but it's just, if you have to go from A to Z, I think we're about on M right now.
Okay.
And I think this was maybe one from H all the way to M. So now we're getting into, these players are quasi-professionals now.
Mm.
There's no more pretending that universities don't pay these players, et cetera. Okay. But there's going to be so many financial and contractual issues along the way in lawsuits that I think it's another phase, but we're not close to Z quite yet. I think we're about at M if you're going A to Z. That's what I think.
Got it. Okay. That's what I want.
Going to be some lawsuits. Lawyers are still going to make some more money. Tony, thank you so much. Tony Hills. We appreciate you. Tony the Tycoon.
Hit him up, baby.
You have a good one, Tony. Be good, bud. Appreciate you very, very much. Always on Hump Day with Hills Always a good listen, guys. Jerry,
I'm prepared.
You're still sporting it for the softball team?
No, look, I'm supporting it for wearing them for everything right now. But why gooder? Stylish Sunnies starting only $25 a pair, 1 year free warranty or 30-day free returns. I just got to read it. Lightweight and comfortable, 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce. From vibrant colors to sleek styles, they're a pair of gooders for every personality out there. They're designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much, much more. So the question becomes, when do you wear your Sunnies? We're going to turn our hat backwards for this one. On a run, playing pickleball, on a hike, going to the beach. Something you look like you're going to the beach with the gooders and the hat on backwards. Probably on a run, playing tennis, maybe the golf course, that too. I'll say this, driving in a car in the Texas heat. These gooders are on for 8+ hours last week because they're so affordable. You don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair on for every single occasion. If you need a new pair of Sunnies, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code OnTexas for free shipping. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. I have to read it. I don't need to. And 100% satisfaction. They could add another 0. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas and use that code for free shipping.
Hook 'em horns. They've got the hook 'em glasses right now too, Jerry.
Yes.
They're back in stock.
All right.
Let's see here. We got another super chat. This one from B Bar. He says, "For Jack." We appreciate that. Trace Little also put yours up when Tony was here, so thank you for your super chat as well. And let's get to some more questions.
Can I bring one up, Blake, that came in at the end, because it's kind of a follow-up to Bobby. Has Bobby found the loophole in the House settlement? This isn't a Bobby answer, but I talked to a couple of college assistants. And one college assistant, not at Texas, and one college assistant said there is a loophole, and they believe that loophole is going to be signing bonuses before player gets to campus. That's what they're predicting. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
So what happens once they get on campus? Every year there's going to be a signing bonus? That's going to be hard to keep players once you get them. That's the reality.
Yeah. Do we have Jay Billis's quotes? Because Jay Billis had some interesting – we don't. Jay Billis was quoted in an article is saying he believes this is going to stop the players from hitting the portal at such a high rate because there's going to be legitimate contractual buyouts. And I think that's pretty interesting because I tend to agree with him. Where do you come out on that, Bobby? Because right now it's like Arkansas is trying to, but I think this is all these contracts are about to change.
Well, all the contracts are definitely changing, but I don't think it's going to slow down the portal. It'll slow down the portal for this reason, not because of the buyouts, because now those players that were getting paid nothing before, if you're at Maryland or, I don't know, Indiana or, Purdue, and you're getting paid nothing, all of a sudden Purdue has $15 million to spend in NIL. They didn't have $15 million in football NIL last year. So I think it's actually going to just be the amount of money that they can now spend to keep players will be a value to them. Like Cole Brevard may not have gone in the portal if they would have had, a guaranteed $15 million.
I agree with that. It gives your lower power fours a better chance to compete.
Arizona State didn't have $15 million last year in NIL.
I told people this. I told people this, and people can believe it or they can't, but I'm just take it as 100%. Cam Scatabo made around $60K last year in NIL. Cam Scatabo.
But before he went on his run, right? Like later in the year, they probably helped him out. No, none at all.
Not from the collective. I don't know if he got true NIL outside of that.
Hey, Jerry, we got a little bit of breaking news here.
Uh-oh.
Jamari Carlton, according to Hayes Fawcett, the tweeter of record for college football recruiting at times, Jamari Carlton not taking his official visit to A&M this weekend.
Yeah, I think
that's probably good news for the Longhorns.
No doubt. And we said Texas was the favorite coming out of that. And we said he has a July announcement commitment date for now scheduled. So it's not going to surprise us.
That's a defensive end out of Temple that I think we watched his film yesterday morning with you guys. So that's good news. That is a FFA good development for Texas. I completely agree. Completely agree.
We got time for a few more questions this morning. Colby TS wants to know, when does the actual practice start? We're still a ways away.
We are. It's late July is the answer. Usually around the 30th, they won't have pads on. It may extend into the August 1st, August 2nd timeframe. It all depends on when that first game is. I think it's 30 days from the first game, so maybe August or July 31st this year. That's typically when they get started. But they're actually, the difference too is coaches can now be on the field with the guys. Coaches can actually be at workouts. It used to be that coaches couldn't be, they can now, and they're meeting all the time with the players. So don't forget, I think it's Ryan Wingo who has a camp this week where Arch Manning is going to be up in St. Louis. We've got it. We should have talked about that, but Ryan's having a camp at his high school for kids in St. Louis. Arch Manning's going to be up there with him, as well as some other Longhorn players. Peter Mpagi is going to have a youth camp coming up as well. Not this weekend, I think, but next weekend. We'll put those up there for you guys tomorrow to see where everybody's going to be at. But there is going to be some guys on the field, maybe just not working as a team, so to speak, in real practice settings.
Corey J says, did we stop recruiting Jet Washington? What happened there? No, Texas loved Jet Washington. Jet Washington loves somebody else more, others more. That is not going to get them all, even if you're winning.
He said no on his date to the prom.
Yeah. I mean,
decided no.
And Johnny Nansen was by that school, and obviously Bishop Gorman, you're going to go, but he was by there multiple times. Texas tried to get Washington on campus, just never materialized. That one is Oregon, USC, or Bama. Oregon's felt pretty good about it, so we may be seeing a cannonball into the pool again soon. We'll see.
Hey, Jerry, a couple questions. Devon Benjamin at safety was one, but you mentioned Paris Melvin. Was that his name this morning that we talked about? For those that just joined us, Jerry's talk a little bit about him and tell people why you think he might be an important recruit for people to know about, et cetera.
Yeah, he's the defensive back, and he is a defensive back / athlete out of Cypress Springs High there in Cypress, Texas. He was offered May 23rd. He was on campus yesterday for an unofficial visit. He told On Texas Football, told me through DMs that he is he is planning to officially visit Texas. And I said, I shouldn't use the word definitely because things change in recruiting. But he's planning to officially visit Texas. Now, what does that mean? He was at Baylor last weekend. He has got Houston this weekend, Ole Miss midweek, and A&M on the 20th. If it was me betting, I'm betting Texas tries to unseat A&M on the 20th and get them knocked out. And with what Jamari and Carlton just did, maybe there's a chance it happens. But that is what I would say about his recruitment. Paris Melvin is the player, 10.85, 10.86, 100 meters, FAT as a junior. He's about 6'1", high 170s or 180, 178, 180, right around there. He played more offense and defense as a junior in high school because these guys have to win games. And if you're watching the tape, I would play him on offense too. He had 1,000+ rushing, 350 receiving, a lot of return yards. Some of those got called back at the beginning of this tape, but you see how good of a return man he is. So he played some on defense last year, and he had 13 tackles and I think an interception, a few PBUs. He played more on defense as a sophomore when he kind of split time between offense and defense. But really good playmaker, really good defensive back. And if you're I didn't want Sark to see that twice this morning. The red zone throw, man. If you ever see him lining up, if he goes to Texas, he's lined up at wide receiver. You know it's coming because he actually looks like he can throw the ball. But what does that mean at defensive back? Samari Matthews is coming in this weekend at corner. the corner from Huff High in Cornelius, North Carolina. Texas has been considered the favorite over Miami, over Clemson. Then he replaced Clemson with Miami. Miami had a great visit, but we'll see what happens this weekend. Texas, Mark Orfe's done a good job in that recruitment. Then he has South Carolina scheduled on June 20th with an announcement date in early August. That's Samari Matthews. Then you have Devon Benjamin, who was in last weekend. He's got Oregon and Washington remaining for OVs. He's already been to Michigan. We'll see if Michigan or Washington could make it somebody other than the Texas-Oregon decision. Washington's had some sneaky success, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see that one. So I think Texas and Oregon, maybe Michigan, are battling for Devon Benjamin, who had a great visit to Texas last weekend, and Texas is absolutely all in on him. And then you have Paris Melvin with Justice Fitzpatrick, as we said. He committed to Georgia. He had been talking about Ohio State and Texas visits. That's not happening. That's why we had said if, or air quotes on that. That's not happening. So I think we're pretty much down to it at DB. And I would say this, as I said it earlier in the show, and I'm going to continue to say it. I list Jermaine Bishop as half a wide receiver and half a corner right now. And he's just a great athlete. He's a great football player. And where he decides he wants to play, if he called Sark and said, I want to play wide out, he'll play wide out. If he called and said, I want to play corner, he'll play corner. That's how much Texas values him as a player. And I think he's equally as talented as either. So I think that's where Texas is at defensive back. But I think Paris Melvin, it'll be interesting to see if he cancels that A&M visit for Texas.
What about Chase Calicut, though, in that category? Because are they thinking more about him as a hybrid safety, big nickel linebacker?
I am.
Okay. I
am, and some of the North Shore staff does as well, who's been there 2 decades and seen all those guys come through. He's got a really big frame. Okay. Like he is a guy that could be 6'4", 235, 240 easily one day. I mean, he's got a big frame, and I think he's better the closer he is to a line of scrimmage, and especially as his frame fills out.
All right, we got some more super chats to get to, and let's do 1 or 2 of them. Here from Thomas. He says, Hook 'em Jack, Longhorns for life and after. We appreciate you, Thomas. And then Sean says, do you guys think OU/UT stays neutral if the SEC goes to 9 games? I'd say absolutely.
It's apt. From listening to Joe Castiglione, the athletic director at OU, and Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, last week at the SEC meetings, there is no interest in moving that game, no matter how many conference games or future conference, whatever Texas and OU may end up in. They both value that game being in Dallas, period, point blank. They're not going to change it. So, yes, I think it's there in Dallas for as long as probably as long as any of us are going to be living. That's my thought process.
Dean Nizer has one I want to answer because I've seen this stadium a few times. Did LaPorte High down in the Houston area around 225 just build a new $65 million stadium? I haven't heard the final cost on it, but I can tell you this. I watched it being built because I've been over at LaPorte a few times on more basketball. By the way, LaPorte has all that refinery money. They have the best basketball arena in Houston. It's in LaPorte, so people haven't seen it. They don't play playoff games at it. LaPorte's basketball facilities off the charts. Their football stadium is outside of your like Longview's like my favorite Friday night stadium that's been there a long time. Obviously, there's people who bring up a lot of others in the chat. The Tomato Bowl at Jacksonville from kind of a historical perspective is pretty cool. But of the new stadiums in Texas, the LaPorte's probably my favorite. And I include Allen. I include all of them. I think the way they built it, just the way it looks when you drive up to it, and I think the fan experience there is going to be off the charts. It's a great, great football facility. It was engineered, the plan, everything was put together so well. And I love what LaPorte's done with their facilities at the high school level. And not a lot of people have the money LaPorte has for those facilities, but their basketball arena is off the charts for a high school basketball, and their football is too. Does that mean they're going to start winning state championships and people are going to start moving in there? It doesn't. But the kids that are there, they're going to have a hell of an experience playing at LaPorte in basketball or football.
All right, we got to get going. But before we do, I want to mention a couple things. Dave Ashley says, I posted earlier, tip of the Longhorn cap to Hannah Wells The incoming pitching phenom, softball pitcher, being named the Texas Gatorade High School Player of the Year. Anna already throwing 70 miles an hour. Dave, thanks for that note, and congratulations to Hannah. Also want to say thank you real quick to Adam Lowy of the Lowy Law Firm for his sponsorship of every Wednesday morning's Coffee and Football. Adam and sponsors like him help make this a possibility for us here at On Texas Football and all of you as well. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, make sure you give Adam and his team a shout. They'll give you a free, no strings attached consultation to see if you or your loved one might be due compensation. That's loweylawfirm.com. Thank you, Adam, for your sponsorship. Also, I think Blake Monroe has tallied up all of the supers. You want to do the last of the supers, Blake, and then give me the final figure, and we'll tell everybody what we're going to do with those today.
All right. So our last super chat that I can see anyway. This from the Loin Girder, and he says, "Good morning, OTF. What happens once a recruit commits? I know the coaches keep recruiting, but do they give the players a list of things to work on or workouts? Hook them, and thanks for the hard work."
They do not, to my knowledge, give them that list until they sign. That's it's a difference between a commitment. Hey, you may want to work on these things. But when you sign, they absolutely, the day you do that, they say, here, this is what we want you to be doing. This is how you need to be doing your workouts. They absolutely do that, but I don't think they do that right when you commit. Jerry, unless you've heard different than me, that's how it used to be. Yeah. Okay. All right. What was the final tally, Blake Monroe?
All right. So we had all in all, over the course of this show, we had 31 super chats. And I may be off by a few cents here because I just rounded up. 31 super chats for $877.
All right. That means we're gonna match that here at On Texas Football. And we're gonna create a check and send a check in to the Texas One Fund for roughly, and I'm just doing it quickly, $1,750, $55 in honor of Jack Lala, one of the original OGs here at On Texas Football. Thank y'all for participating in that today. Appreciate y'all very much. And like I said yesterday, Godspeed, Jack. You're the best, dude.
Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I want to thank Adam along with Gooder and Omaha Steaks for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in. For those that put in on what Bobby was just talking about, the super chats, that's absolutely awesome. Be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Remember, we can't be on here all the time as much as we would like to be, but we are on 24/7 at ontexasfootball.com. Use promo code OTFOG when you sign up. You can get a full year for just $39.95, but only if you use promo code OTFOG. And Bobby, what's later today?
We have State of the Program. We talked about that. Me, Jerry, and CJ Vogel will be talking a little recruiting probably. That's going to be most of it. Then also we have the live stream later tonight as well. Jerry has lined up, or CJ may have lined up, a very special guest, one of the most recent commitments for the University of Texas. So hopefully y'all will join us for tonight's live stream as well. Damon added one in at the very last minute. Jerry, you had something?
Yes. Paris Melvin just told me he did boot A&M, and he's visiting Texas June 20th through 22nd.
There we go. Jerry Hamilton working behind the scenes.
Bad morning for the Aggies, man. And that really sucks here.
Yeah. Maybe they can go take pictures with lambs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or
you mean the lamb bows didn't work?
All right. Well, the new tally is $927 with an OTF match. That's $1,854 going to Texas One Fund. So again, thank you to everybody who took part in that this morning. We truly do appreciate it. And of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Rowe, and we'll see you then.